Hello everyone, my name is Orn and today I'm going to talk about my favourite books of 2020. 2020 has been a great year for reading and I want to talk about some of my favourites. I won't be reviewing these books in this video, but I'll put links to my 1-minute book reviews in the description below, and I'm just going to give a brief introduction about why I like these books. The first book is The Science of Storytelling by Storr, and I was fortunate enough to get the chance to sit down with Will and discuss his book as part of my Book Talk Today podcast. What was evident during this conversation as well as in the book is that storytelling is as much a science as it is an art, and in the book it delves into the scientific underpinnings of what makes great storytelling. As a journalist, the author does a wonderful job in explaining what makes great stories and how we as the reader can replicate great storytelling, whether we're writers, filmmakers, or just content creators in general. If you fall into this category and you're interested in how to tell better stories from a psychological point of view, then I definitely recommend that you get this book and check out the interview that I did with Will. The link will be in the description below. The second book is Grit by Angela Duckworth, and 2020 has tested all our patience and all our perseverance. So I see no better time than reading a book like this. The book breaks down the definition of grit. Call it resilience, call it persistence. Grit is a necessary determinant for success, no matter the field that you're in. For a book on psychology, I actually found it to be very practical. Oftentimes, when you read books on psychology and science in general, it's full of theory and not practical steps. And I found this book to be incredibly practical. What was interesting about this book is that there's a positive correlation between life experience and perceived grit, which means the more that you put yourself into uncomfortable positions, the more your perception of your own grit. The moral of the story: put yourself into uncomfortable positions and challenge yourself consistently, and you'll be able to adapt yourself to those conditions. If you're looking for ways to become more resilient, then I definitely recommend that you read this book. The third book is Factfulness by Hans Ola and Anna Rosling, and I still remember the moment when I finished this book and I was left wondering about how little we actually know about the world around us and how perceived experts in their field even have a distorted view of that field. The book looks at 10 reasons why we're wrong about the world and breaks down big issues such as climate change, global poverty, and seeks to analyze why these trends are actually decreasing across time and how we can be positive about the changes that are being made. Like many illuminating books, it seeks to give you optimism rather than scare you, and gives you a good positive outlook about the changes that are happening in the world. If you're like me and you don't look at the news for information, then I definitely recommend picking up this book because it will give you a different perception about what's actually happening around us. This book is definitely a cause to be optimistic about the future. The fourth book is Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. Now, I've been a fan of Ryan Holiday's work, both in stoicism and on marketing, and this book seeks to analyze different thoughts of philosophical and theological schools about their relationship to stillness or balance. This book does a great job in analysing different philosophical and theological schools and breaking down their relationship to stillness and balance. However, there is one thing that I would say about this book is that it doesn't go in depth to a breadth of different schools that I would have liked, but I can also appreciate that that's quite difficult in a book this small. Nevertheless, I found this book to be a critical read, especially during 2020, so that we can all find ways to gain an inner sense of balance and calm. If you're in the same boat for 2021 as well, then I definitely recommend picking up this book. It's not full of practical tips, but it's more of an analysis of different philosophical thoughts so that you can go about further reading after you finish this. The fifth and the last book is actually a book that I didn't think would be on this list, but the more I thought about it, the more that the lessons within this book prove valuable. This book is Black Box Thinking by Matthew Syed. This book analyzes our relationship to failure and analyzes different industries such as the aviation industry and the medical industry, and looks about how they contrast in their approach to dealing with failure. Upon further contemplation, I found this book to be incredibly valuable because you can look as an individual to your own relationship to failure, and as we talked about earlier, when it comes to developing grit or resilience, we need to know how to accept failure as part of the process and learn from it as a result. At many points throughout this book, you're left questioning why more people don't have a better relationship to failure. And you just have to look at society as a whole and the image of perfectionism that's being portrayed upon us. And I think the more that we have self-awareness about how failure is a necessary component to eventual success, no matter your field, then I definitely recommend that. Reading this book will definitely help you. That's my list. Let me know some of your favorite books that you have read in 2020 and put them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a happy new year, and see you in 2021.